Hello, I'm Joshua Farnsworth and welcome to my traditional woodworking school here in Earlysville, Virginia. In this video, one of our instructors, Bill Anderson, will show how to make tongue and groove joint using traditional metal tongue and groove plane. In case you missed our last video, Bill showed how to use wooden tongue and groove planes or match planes to make tongue and groove joint.
We're going to cut one more tongue and groove joint, and that's with this Stanley 48. If you remember when I was talking about these planes before, the 48 cuts joints in the middle of a 7/8 inch thick stock, which is pretty standard in the day when these planes were made. But it also cuts stock an 1/8 of an inch narrower and an 1/8 of an inch wider. In other words, from 3/4 to 1 inch thick. It'll put a groove in the middle part of that stock, but the groove will be displaced one side or the other depending on how thick the stock is. So you need to take that into account where you want your groove to actually be, on the back side or the front side of a panel here. Lee Nielsen makes a version of the Stanley 48. They made theirs just 3/4 of an inch wide, so it puts a cut in the middle of 3/4 inch stock only. If your stock is a little bit more than 3/4, you'll have some hang off there that you'll need to plane off afterwards. So it's a little bit of a inconvenience if you shape stock yourself. Anyway, they make one and they make a 1/2 inch as well. So those are two good modern versions of the Stanley 48. So we'll go ahead, and I've marked these boards, and we're going to go ahead and cut a tongue and groove on these, and then we'll take a look at how they fit together. If you remember, I put these in the vise so that the reference face faces towards the left side, which is where this plane is, and I'm going to put this on the groove cutter. So I'm going to swing the fence around. You can see that both cutters are exposed like that, and the fence is snug in there. It's locked in. We're in business, ready to go. So we'll go ahead and take a pass and see what kind of shaving we're getting. So that's looking good. So we'll just continue on and plane down until this bottoms out. I should say that the handle on these planes is something of a temptation. You don't want to grab this handle. It's not going to do any good for you. You want to hold the fence, pinch it with your hands like so, push the fence in towards the side of the stock like so that all your effort is this way. Once you start making that groove, you're locked into that groove. So you want that groove to be in the right place at the very beginning. The handle just helps to push down, but it does not control how well you snug the fence up against the stock. So don't use the handle for this purpose. Again, you want to make sure that you plane straight up and down, that you follow through, and that you make sure you get this end of the cut as well as that end. So I've got that part. Let's go ahead and do the groove part. Remember to switch the board around so the fence is on the left side again. And again, we'll move the fence around and get it oriented so one of the cutters is hidden, and now we just have a groove to cut. Take initial pass, not too heavy. Right here we have some squirrely grain, and you can see how ugly that is. Fortunately, we're cutting a groove. It's going to be down in the middle of the joint. As long as the shoulders stay sharp, we're okay. We don't care what that looks like. Oh, it actually doesn't look very good. one reason why I always cut my stock long, so that when things like this happen, I have the option of cutting that off and getting rid of it. And I've oriented the groove so you don't actually see any roughness on the shoulder right here. Down in here, it's all buried there. So let's take a look at that. Put that together. And if it's flush, then we're good. If it's not flush, we'll remove some from the tongue on one side or the other, depending on which way this board needs to go, this way or that way. And we'll do that as I did before with the shoulder plane. So almost invariably, you need to tweak these joints in order to get them to look good and fit snugly. The thing about tongue and groove joints is they don't have to fit together tight. They just have to overlap. Once they overlap, as the seasons cause the boards to expand and contract, the gap opens and closes, but that gap, a tongue covers up the separation there all along. So this is not a glue joint. This is just an assembly joint, like so. The other thing is, people often will put a decorative edge on one side or the other to camouflage this gap, i.e. maybe a bead or sometimes a bevel. And usually they'll put the bevel on the tongue side of the joint, which is where most of the meat is. Of course, if I was to do anything on this groove side, I would weaken the members of the groove. So we do that work on the tongue side, one side or the other, depending on which is going to be the face side. For example, in a box, this might be the bottom of the bottom. In other words, this might be the inside of the bottom, and you might put your bead on that side. So we would cut the bead on this shoulder right there. A beading plane will work on this as long as you have enough room for the fence of the beading plane to rest here and cut a full bead on this edge right there. So remember, we had a couple other planes here. And these planes really are, in every respect, exactly like the two we've shown so far. This come and go and this come and go. It's just that both sets of cutters are on the same body, so to speak. But other than that, they're exactly the same plane. They work just as well. So I think that's the sum total of what I wanted to talk with about tongue and groove.
If you're interested in learning traditional woodworking, come take a class at our school in Earlysville, Virginia. You can also visit our website at WoodAndShop.com, where you'll find a bunch of free woodworking lessons, workshop tours, and our very popular tool buying guides. And make sure you subscribe to our free newsletter to get our latest articles and videos. Enjoy!